Welcome to The Beautiful Mess, where we talk about tools and tactics to improve your life. And now, introducing your host, Paul Dittus. What's up, friends? Welcome to The Beautiful Mess, where we talk about tools and tactics to improve your life. I'm so glad to have you on this episode. I wanted to talk about how to design your week to make it set up for success for your, you create this environment that will just have you focus on those things that mean more to you than those that take away from it. And I love this idea of kind of treating your schedule or the things that you do kind of like how you budget your finances, because when you're intentional about budgeting your finances, you're much better off. You're intentional about how you use your money, about how you spend your dollars, and you set it aside for certain things. So I think if you have that same intentionality about your week, you can get a lot closer to those goals that are meaningful to you instead of just, blindly walking through the week and hoping that you'll get closer to your goals. People often set goals for their year. That's a big thing, is the yearly resolution. But why not a weekly resolution or a daily resolution where you recommit on a smaller you have that macro level, and then you have the micro level of resolution. So I really want to dive into the micro level resolution. You could probably break it down even more to, every hour, but we're going to stick with kind of the week view, or maybe even the day view. This idea kind of started coming to mind as I've been doing a lot of research into productivity. This isn't the first time I've done that, but I've been reading Atomic Habits, which is a fantastic book. Highly, highly recommend. So that's been very influential, as well as I've gotten back into an app that I absolutely love called YNAB. It's actually like I said, it's a budgeting, that's kind of the inspiration, is YNAB. It's for budgeting your money, but I think you can use similar principles for budgeting your time. So I definitely want to kind of dive into those a little bit more. So I guess to start things off, why should you look at things on a weekly basis? So, for me, I don't know if you've ever had this where you're going through a week and you're just it's chaos. There's no sense of order. There's no sense of North Star for you. It just seems like things are happening. You're just waking up haphazardly. You're just feeling the day's happening to you, not the other way around. And so I think the more that you can kind of get on top of things where you're the one kind of feeling more in control, they've done studies where, at least in a work environment, when you feel like you have some autonomy, that's oftentimes where you experience a little bit more happiness and job satisfaction, when you have that sense of ownership. And I think that's something that you can even create for yourself. Obviously, it's ideal if your work environment and those that you work with are very supportive of that. However, I do think that's something that you can create for yourself in some ways. So yeah, that's definitely something I want to encourage you, is think about how you can structure your day for success so that you're excited about it. Steve Jobs talks about how, if you're not passionate about and excited about what you wake up, this is your life. You have a finite amount of time on this earth, and why not do something that's meaningful to you? And maybe you feel like you're stuck in a rut. Maybe you feel like you don't know where you're going in life. So I encourage you to kind of recommit on a smaller basis, because sometimes it's intimidating. You think about these big goals, and it's just how am I going to get them done? So I guess to give you an idea of some of my goals that I've broken down into a weekly thing is, one of them is to create this podcast weekly. And today, I'll be completely honest, I'm a day off. I missed a day, but I was I'm going to get it done this week, because I just feel this is important to me, and hopefully it's important to you. And so I just want to share whatever value I can to you. And honestly, it's been such a great experience for me just having this time with you to talk about tools and tactics, things that can hopefully bring you value. And so that was a cornerstone that I wanted to make, every single week. I just wanted to get it done. And so really, thinking about where I can fit in time, to make this happen. So like in the evening, maybe I block off a couple hours, and that way I can record the podcast, make a thumbnail, whatever it is that I need to do to get it done. So I think that's definitely what you want to do, is like create the environment for success. Another thing that I wanted to do on a weekly basis is go to CrossFit. Three times a week. That's been my goal. And I'll be completely honest. I've fallen off of that. I mean, obviously we just had a new baby, so that's obviously brings a lot of new dynamics to the family. And so it's been a little bit harder for me to get to CrossFit. However, I'm so grateful for the people at the CrossFit gym that I go to. They're very supportive, encouraging. The people I work out with are great. I mean, it's a fantastic environment. That's another thing I'll recommend, is like find people that want you to succeed and are willing to invest in you. And that's what I found at the CrossFit gym, is that everyone's, kind of cheering for you. They're rooting you on. And so like, I just realized I wasn't getting to the gym, and they're like, stick with it. That was your goal. You wanted to make it 3 times a week, we're going to encourage you to that. And so very, very grateful for that. So yeah, just set yourself up for success. And so I guess like, what are some good ways to do that? One is to plan ahead. So maybe on Sunday, when you're looking at your week, think about what it is that you want to accomplish in the bigger picture. For me, one of those things is reading 40 books. I'm almost halfway there now. I'm super excited about that. And the other is, doing this podcast. Another is CrossFit. And then I want to add making YouTube videos, hopefully weekly, but haven't been able to do that. So hopefully we'll be able to jump onto that. But it's kind of starting small and then rolling with the punches. That's actually a YNAB concept, is like, you just have to roll with the punches. Sometimes you go over your budget in one area, but you can't like kind of get too disheartened, when that happens. You just have to like get back up, just keep going. And that way, you don't lose your momentum. It's not like, oh man, I messed up. I got to go back to square one again. No, it's like, you get after it. Keep at it. Don't just like, sit back and be like, I messed up. That's the end. So actually, I want to find real quick kind of like the main principles. It's called the 4 rules for YNAB, because I think these, there are 4 simple rules for successful budgeting. And I think it's the same thing with your time. You got to budget your time. So when you're looking at your big week, this is some of the things that I think you should look at. So rule number 1 for them is give every dollar a job. So reframe that, give every minute or hour a job. So maybe you can block out times on your calendar which are designated for those special things. It's a famous thing. It's called time blocking. And so look at your calendar and then like kind of put in those rocks, those fundamental things that are super important to you, that'll bring you energy and it's exciting to you. Put those in first. That way you're sure that you're going to devote time to it, even if you don't get the results that you want. Focus on the things that you can control. So, obviously, one thing I can't control directly is how many people listen to this podcast. So I can't, go to someone's house and say, listen to this. I mean, I can invite them, but I'm not going to go over there and make sure that they listen to it. That would be terrible. So instead, like, you're going to focus on those measurables, like the things that you can do as like reps almost. Like if you go to the gym, you know that you can put in a certain number of reps. Whereas like you don't know whether or not you can bench, 300 pounds, like without putting in the work. So it's like, focus on those things that you can control. Start small. So give your time a job, basically. And then, so rule number 2, embrace your true expenses. So how you would apply this to your productivity, time management, embrace where you spend your time. So, sometimes you spend way too much time in one area. And this is where a week review is so important. Maybe you do it on the same day that you plan out your next week, or maybe you devote certain time to basically, just review, sit down, like without distractions, and just think about what in your week went really, really well, and those things that like brought you success, and focus in on those. And then you can also think about those things that like kind of distracted you, took you away from what was meaningful. And so then you'll try to eliminate those. And this is where habit building comes into play. It's like you want to set yourself up for success. And so think about those things. And then rule number 3 is probably one of my favorites, is roll with the punches. And this one's pretty obvious that you can apply to your schedule. It's just, when things happen, life happens, just like acknowledge it. Be okay with things being messy. I mean, this is a Beautiful Mess podcast. So that's my encouragement, is like, it's going to be messy. So just realize that from the get-go, but don't like get disheartened when you mess up. Like, just recommit. So yeah, that's roll with the punches. And then rule number 4. This one, I don't know. I guess it's basically age with your money, age your money. So I guess maybe you could do it this way. It's like, you're looking at it more big picture. It's like you step back and see, like, are you making progress towards those bigger goals by, doing these weekly things? I think that's maybe, it's like you step back and you see the forest and not the trees. Yeah, that one might be a little bit more looser, but anyways. And then the other things that I wanted to talk about, besides the YNAB approach, the budgeting approach to your time management, is also the basically taking a look at your habits. And this is going back to the Atomic Habits. I love James Clear's 4 laws for 4 laws for making habits. So basically, there's law number 1, make it obvious. Law number 2, make it make it attractive. And then law number 3, make it easy. Law number 4, make it satisfying. So again, law number 1, make it obvious. Law number 2, make it attractive. Law number 3, make it easy. Law number 4, make it satisfying. And so to break it down a little bit, obviously, law number 1 is like, make it obvious. So be very particular about this habit that you're going to make. So what do I mean by that? So you're going to be intentional. So you're going to write down, so that you have no confusion about what you're doing with this habit, is like, I will do blank. Like for me, it's like, I'm going to go to CrossFit. I'm going to, go to the gym. And then you're going to put down the time and like the day of the week, whatever it is, and then at this location. So for me, it would be, I'll go to the CrossFit gym, and I'm going to do that 3 times on, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7:30 a.m. And I'm going to do that at the CrossFit gym. Very simple. But what they found is that when you specify those details, you are much more likely to do that. One other tip, make it even smaller. So I started out with a goal like that, where it was like, do this time, this place. And what I found is that it was like kind of intimidating sometimes. And you're just like, I don't know if I can make it to the gym this morning. I went to bed extra late, whatnot. And so I started focusing on the things that would set me up for success. And what was that? That was putting out my clothes the night before. So the night before, I would get everything set up for the morning, whether that's putting out the breakfast, putting out my clothes, my shoes, basically setting yourself up so that you know exactly what you're doing in the morning. There's no questioning it. And what I found is that you get ready so much faster. It's not like you're just waking up and like, I got to gather this. You have less decisions to make in the morning. And that's where the decision fatigue, the more you can reduce it. That's why people, decide to wear one set of clothes every day, is to reduce decision fatigue. Because every time you have to make a decision, you're taking, you're kind of like paying the money that you have out of your decision bank. And the more that you lose that money, the less, mental energy that you have to make more decisions. So kind of the better decisions that you can make, obviously it's going to reap dividends. So put more effort into those decisions. They'll bring you better results instead of focusing in on making decisions about, what shirt you're going to wear in the morning. Make that either, reduce the amount of decisions that you have to make by removing the number of shirts that you have. Maybe you have one or two different, I know that's a minimalistic thing, is like where you reduce the number of choices that you need to make. And so, obviously lots of successful people do things like that. People like Steve Jobs, they like to be intentional about the decisions they make because they often have big decisions. So yeah, make it obvious and keep like track, just kind of like the budgeting mindset. It's like every week, maybe you have a list of things that you want to accomplish or deliverables that you want to set out. I like the Finisher's Secrets. I did some work for them, kind of creating like a course. They have some very neat ways of looking at like budgeting your time and energy. So they have their Finisher's Journal. And one thing I love about it is they have this prioritization method that they have A, B, C. And so you're going to write out your tasks that you need to accomplish, but then you're also going to assign a priority. And that way, without hesitation, it's like, I need to get the A list done right away, because the A is basically something that if you don't get it done this week, there's going to be consequences. Maybe you don't get paid. Maybe, it's going to hurt your reputation, so an A priority thing is like, you need to really hone in on that and get it done. B level is like, it's important, but if it doesn't get done, it's not the end of the world. However, it's really important to you that you get it done. And then C is like, these would be great to do, but honestly, if it doesn't happen this week, it's not the end of the world. Another way of looking at that list is probably something along the lines of the Eisenhower matrix. Love that thing. Again, an app that I love is Tick, and they have a built-in Eisenhower matrix. I think it kind of works automatically to some degree. You can obviously drag and drop tasks as you want to the different matrices, or you can assign like a priority, and like based on the due date of the task, it'll sort it into urgent or non-urgent. And if you're not familiar with the matrix, basically in the Eisenhower matrix, you have on the top left, you have your important and urgent. And then the next most important is your important and non-urgent. And then in the bottom left, you have, urgent and non-important. And then in the bottom right, you have not important, not urgent. So obviously you want to put most of your time into the important and urgent. However, sometimes you also want to put into the important, and sometimes there's also those urgent things that need to happen, but maybe they're not that important to you. So that's again where you got to kind of like set aside time so that you're budgeting most of your energy. And that's another thing is like, if it was listening, I think to Matt D'Avella, I love Matt D'Avella's stuff, his YouTube video, and a lot of things matter about your energy. Like, so maybe instead of like budgeting like your time, You could also view it as budgeting your energy. And I would also recommend scheduling in breaks, scheduling in those times where you can just get like relaxation. Like, you can be go, but then if you're just like taking from your like energy banks and you're just like running on fumes, eventually that's going to harm your productivity and you might end up, spiraling down. And so like, it's important to take breaks and, roll with the punches and, set yourself up for success. So yeah, I think that's a lot to digest and consider. But again, it's just like building habits, weekly habits that are meaningful to you. I think another person that talks about kind of setting yourself up for success in the micro level is Tim Ferriss. A big thing for him is like his daily structure. And I think it's important to like have like a kind of those routines, those things that just bring you like, again, like if you want to accomplish big, lofty goals, you got to start small. And oftentimes you think of like these writers that write these big books and you're like, I can never do that. But honestly, it's just sitting down and writing and, setting aside like an hour or two at a certain time that you're going to focus in on doing that one thing. And it's not as big or lofty as you think if you can break it up into smaller steps. I think that's a key. It's like, don't, try to eat the elephant all at once. Break it up into smaller chunks, and that'll set you up for success. Whew. Well, thanks so much, friends, for listening in today. I'm super excited about this podcast, and I'm glad to have you along. If you want to be part of the Messy family, as I hope you do, be sure to rate the podcast wherever you can, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Would love to get your feedback, and then subscribe on YouTube if you want. Like us wherever you can, follow, all that good stuff. Yeah, and if you want to reach out to me, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe you have some productivity tips or things that you want to hear about. Just send me a message or comment on one of these episodes. Love to hear from you. And till next time, my friends, stay messy.